Our guest says the coffee shop category, particularly in the US, will be the second fastest growing restaurant category in the next decade. After chicken, there is some of the TD forecasts for the coffee sector. Iced coffee is an important offering for the chains, the coffee shops, that's difficult to replicate at home. So that's an important growth driver. We are joined by Andrew Charles, Managing Director and Restaurant Analyst at TD Cowen. Andrew, thanks very much. And actually, just to clarify, you are talking about the US market here.
That's right. And thanks so much for having me, Andrew. We included some takeaways for Tim Hortons as an important consideration for Restaurant Brands International, but the vast majority of the reports focus in the US.
That's interesting. So we just looked at some of your forecasts, and generally an older population is good for coffee. Older people tend to use the beverage.
So funny enough, I can speak to this from personal experience, but the data surprised me that, people drink more coffee as they age, and particularly in the age 25 to 39 age cohort, the step up from the 18 to 24 cohort is most pronounced. And what's interesting there is that as consumers enter parenthood and the workforce was what we deduced, caffeine consumption rises and is sticky over time. And so as you think about the US population, that's really going to be the aging of that population is going to be the theme of the United States over the next 10 years. Clearly, I think that coffee has to benefit, particularly as Gen Z, who typically drinks the most coffee outside the home, given the stickiness of digital combined with iced offerings that just aren't the same when you make them at home. We think this will be a nice tailwind for the coffee shop industry.
And you think that the at-home players in the coffee market will struggle to achieve growth?
Yeah, my colleague Rob Moscow covers these names, and he was quick to point out that, their primarily hot beverage portfolio will be more challenging. And also just the fact that there are more portfolio companies in the packaged coffee space. When you think about the standalone businesses of Starbucks and Dutch Bros, makes it so that the coffee shops can focus a lot more intensely on their business.
Tell us about Dutch Bros, if you would. They're your top pick in the space. What kind of a chain are they?
Yeah, so Dutch Bros is 900 square feet, and there's about 900 of them in the United States. And what to think about there is that it's drive-through only and does similar volumes as a Starbucks restaurant. It does skew a bit younger. It also skews more to energy beverages as well. And we really like the catalyst path under a management team that's been in place for roughly a year. What I mean by that is that they just launched mobile order and it's off to a good start. We think we're just seeing the beginning on that and that there's more positive sales revisions to come. And they proactively flagged that in 2026, they'll be introducing food, which is about 23% of Starbucks' offerings, and about 40% of Starbucks consumers attach food. That's going to be a nice tailwind for 2026 as well. And so really like the catalyst path here. Worth mentioning, the CEO of Dutch Bros actually used to run food at Starbucks. So, in our view, this management team that came from Starbucks and is going to a younger, newer concept, we think they're like kids in the candy store with the opportunities to really help drive unit economics for this brand.
It's interesting about the digital/loyalty. I mean, is it a big deal in the coffee business these days? You do need to let people order in advance before they get to the store?
Oh, absolutely. Andrew, I don't know about you, but, for me, it's hard for me to get started in the morning until coffee. And so the faster I get it, the better, and having the ability to order in advance, it's ready on your arrival. I think that's pretty game changing. We've seen Starbucks now, this accounts for about 33% of their sales. It's proven to be highly incremental. And I think we have a team in place that's going to do this properly from an operations perspective as well. So very, very big theme in the coffee industry, specifically because coffee, unlike other restaurant occasions, is typically enjoyed alone. That social nature of a restaurant occasion where you go out to eat, digital's not as impactful there. But for coffee, time-sensitive consumer, generally by themselves, very effective.
The Starbucks is a buy too. Obviously, they've had trouble with growth. Their menu became too sprawling. The poor baristas are run ragged trying to keep up with all the permutations. Stock is down over the past year, but you see a turnaround?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Starbucks is a bit of a different setup, as you mentioned, from Dutch Bros. What we like about Starbucks is their CEO, Brian Niccol, his ability to help the turnaround. And this is really a 2026 story as management's level set 2025 as a foundation year. So we are bullish. What we're going to see with Starbucks is the ability for them to exceed consensus estimates for both same store sales as well as for EPS in 2026. And the way we're thinking about it is that the turnaround at Starbucks is likely to share similar roots as the turnaround at Chipotle in 2018, where Nickel was previously, specifically the ability to improve operations and make the line faster while improving the barista experience for Starbucks, combined with the marketing element here that historically Chipotle was not utilizing marketing, nor is Starbucks currently. So we think the ability for him to reposition the brand and put the shine back on the brand, can really help to lead to some traffic growth in 26 and 27.
It's interesting. I mean, there is evidence that coffee brings health benefits. I'm looking at Johns Hopkins Medicine, their website, for example. The case for coffee is stronger than ever. Apparently, antioxidants are one of the big benefits. But I don't think the coffee industry has jumped aboard that. Maybe they're just wary. There's so much health misinformation going around.
It's interesting, Andrew. I haven't done much work on this. I've heard similar things as you just mentioned there. The challenge is that, people tend to put quite a bit of additives into their coffee, whether it's an espresso shop, some kind of creamer. Cold foam is very popular right now in the coffee shop industry. So it's a little hard to toot the health benefits. And what we've seen historically throughout the industry, consumers generally are not motivated to visit a restaurant because of the healthiness of it. We do cover names like Kava, as well as Sweetgreen, fast casual concepts based in the United States that do offer more wellness. But typically, consumers look at going to a restaurant as more of a splurge, which is probably we haven't heard too much about it from a marketing perspective.
Before we let you go, how many cups do you think you go through a day?
Since I started writing this report, too many to count. I might embarrass myself, but it's an easy 2 for me. I try to keep it a 1 on weekends, though.
Thanks. It's an interesting read, 83-page report. I learned a lot about coffee. Thank you very much indeed, Andrew.
Thank you.
Andrew Charles, Managing Director.